Okay, it is 6 o'clock, time for the Planning Commission to begin here in the City Council chamber at the Municipal Building in Roy. We've asked Commissioner Felt to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving to the first item, any declaration of conflicts from anyone?
No.
None seen. Let's move on to item number 2, which is a public hearing to consider amendments to Title 10 zoning regulations. We will turn the time over to Steve first.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Chair. Again, as you had mentioned, this is looking at amending Title 10, Chapter 10 of Table 10-1 of maximum height, building height, and then Chapter 31 definitions, amending the definition of building height. So as you remember from the work session last month, staff had presented basically every city along the Wasatch Front from North Ogden all the way down to Provo area of what their ordinances looked like as they read and stuff, and we had a good discussion of what we'd like to change ours to. So on here I've gotten, sorry, I apologize, it's kind of small, but kind of our current definition in Chapter 10, where it talks about building heights for uses, and it says as per the building code, which to me is a little odd that we'd be referring to the building code. So that look is to change and just remove as per building code as how we measure building height. The biggest one is just the language in the definition. So right now the current language as it reads is the vertical, sorry, and I can't even read my own presentation. So the vertical distance from grade elevation to the highest point of the coping of a flat roof or to a point midway between the lowest part of the eaves or cornice and the ridge of a pitched or hipped roof. So again, just as today, measuring it, you go from grade, and my interpretation is finished grade. It'd be hard to go to a developer and say, okay, we're measuring height and where it was the grade used to be, So finished grade should be the wording, but here it just said grade. So that was one concern that we had. So today I would go, and if you had a hipped roof or a pitched roof or a sloped roof, I'd just measure the middle between, and that would be your height. If it was a flat roof, then you had a flat roof. So in our discussion last time, we redefined kind of what it means, and again, just kind of reading it means the average maximum vertical height of the enclosed building or structure measured at a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 8 equidistant points, and I'll show the illustration in a bit, along the building facade from finished grade to the highest point of the building or structure. Then we moved on to kind of define what do we mean by highest point. So right now it would read the highest point means the top of the roof coping or flat roof, or a point midway between the lowest part of the eaves or cornice and the ridge of the peak of roof for a building with a sloped roof. And then in our discussion we continued on, because right now, if you have mechanical equipment on the roof, or if you have to have an elevator, those things have to be screened from public view, but they were being kind of hindered with our current definition, because it was always just what's your highest point, but we were requiring them to screen it, we were requiring them to do all these things, so it really was, we were adding height to the building and, you know, kind of hindering them from wanting to make it look nice or have a, you know, ability to go taller. So we looked at not including architectural features as, you know, mechanical equipment that are screened, or as for an elevator shaft that, you know, you have to have so much height beyond that. Not to include those type of things, or anything that's enclosed that's a livable space. Again, if they had a livable space on top, that would just be a continuation of the building height. But if they had a flat roof and wanted to do a garden, you know, should we be hindering them from doing stuff like that? So in our discussion, you decided to include that kind of language to allow for the architectural features not to be included in the definition or how we measure the building height. Wanted to just kind of again point out that the existing language of the definition included the midpoint between the ridge and the bottom of the eave or cornice. So it's not something we're making up or bringing in that's new. In fact, if you remember, I think there were several cities that had the same definition that we looked at. So images-wise, and these will be posted within it as well. So the first one is a kind of a site plan showing you eight equidistant points along the facades that they would measure from. It has topography in it, so obviously points A and point F, or whatever one's on the top corner, are going to be different elevations, so they're going to be different heights. So we're really looking for the median height of that. Slopes, it is very difficult to, you know, for buildings. They are, you know, at a disadvantage with the slope, but we wanted to make sure that they didn't get too big of a building or too small of a building. Flat areas like most of Roy, you know, if it's flat, it's flat. You know, there might be a 1 foot gradation difference from one end to the other. You know, 35 feet is 35 feet pretty much at that point. But again, they can still provide those 3 points or 8 points to provide that. And then the pictures of just kind of what the midpoint of a hipped or pitched roof, and then the top of a flat roof. So I think that from our discussion that we had during the work session, I've tried to incorporate everything in there. I think I got everything that you guys were thinking about and hoping for. So some questions that you know, you kind of need to reflect upon, as does the change in the language and the definition of building height provide a clearer picture of how to measure, or should it remain as it's currently stated? And then, will this new definition create unintended hardships on neighboring properties surrounding future developments? So staff would recommend approval of the proposed changes. Any questions for me?
Looks like no questions. We'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we are in public hearing. If you'd like to come up and address this, please give us your name and your address, where you're at.
If I may, Chair, we did receive one email.
Okay.
The gentleman could not be here tonight, so he would like me to kind of read this in. And I'm going to have to adjust this because I forgot to bring the actual paper, but I'm glad I put it in the presentation. Want to express my opposition to measuring building heights, as it may exempt the full pitched and building height not halfway between the eave and the peak of the roof, which could rise a 35-foot building as much or more than 40 feet. Anything taller than 35 feet behind my home on 4,000 west or 4,000 south and west of the tracks will create a sound tunnel with the tracks between our homes and the new development. I see this as a violation of what residents were promised by the council in discussion concerning the Station South area. I told him I would make sure it was in there, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to, please step up to the microphone and, again, your name and your address.
Michael Brodsky, 84 West 4800 South in Murray. Steve, I didn't come here to address that, but I do see one issue that I'd like to just mention to you.
Okay,
In a walkout condition, the definition of how you measure your height becomes a problem. And in other jurisdictions, they do a parallelogram to the grade and measure the height off of that. And so the rear slope of the roof, you measure that on a walkout condition from existing finished grade to not the ridge, but the eaves.
okay.
And in a walkout condition, what you've described here is a little bit problematic. That's all I wanted to add to my experience in having done this a few thousand times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Kevin Homer. I live at 5398 South, 4000 West here in Roy. Having attended most of those work sessions and heard your discussions, and I appreciate Mr. Parkinson's presentation on this. I think that the changes seem reasonable and workable, and myself, I would recommend that you accept this. The only change I might suggest is maybe using a larger font on the presentation.
So I can read or you can read?
Anyone else? If no one else, I guess we would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to leave public hearing.
You hear a second?
Second.
All right, we're out of public hearing.
Just for recording purposes, please make sure we talk into our mic. The ladies
Okay.
do great on transcribing your minutes, but
Do we want to address what was brought up about the
that's
the
fine. I
walkout?
mean, and if you want, I can get with Mr. Brodsky. We can kind of table this at this time. I can get with him to find out what language he's talking about and bring it to you at the work session. So it really comes down to how you would like to address that.
Well, my question on his terminology, walkout, meaning, is that the street entry level we're referring to as a walkout? Back of the house. The back of the house.
Yeah, so you,
And to the bottom of the eave or the top of the pitch? Is
Where you have a sloping grade from the front door to the back.
Mike,
Come back up
Come up
to
to
the
the mic.
if you would,
We'll
please.
just ask you some questions, because I don't know that we're too far apart, honestly.
I apologize for even bringing this
okay.
up because it sounds like you have spent an inordinate amount of time researching it.
Sure.
What I'm talking about by a walkout condition is where you have a sloping grade from the front of the house to the back of the house. And you'll have a natural grade transition of almost 10 feet from the front door to the walkout in the back of the house. And measuring from 35 feet from that point in the rear of the house makes it very difficult for a builder to do a natural walkout condition in the house. Other jurisdictions have taken a position where they will look at the maximum height of the building as a parallelogram. Envision two lines parallel to the ground and measure the height on the back of the building off of that sloped line.
Unless the walkout's on the second level.
Well, then if you've got a different situation.
Right.
If you've got a slope that goes from the back of the house down to the front of the house.
Right.
And in that case, oftentimes, your garage is going to be under the house,
Right.
not at the first
Right.
floor
Not at the
level.
walkout level, which would be on the second floor.
Right.
So it depends on the slope of the hill.
It very, very much
Architect,
depends on the
right.
slope of the hill, yes.
Right. And in each case, it's either detrimental or it's beneficial. So do we have to define it by slope from front to back or back to front?
well, I mean, again, it doesn't hurt if we table this at this time, readdress it at the work session? I can get the language that he's referring to and, retake a look at what we're looking at, and, I mean, it doesn't hurt. You see it?
We're not really in a hurry to do this, are we?
No.
I don't
So,
think so.
I'm in agreement with tabling it.
And
Steve, would we have time on Thursday when I'm going to be in here to
Yeah.
talk? Okay. I'll bring some language from a couple of other municipalities.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
The last thing I want to do is hinder builders
Yeah.
and make things more difficult to build a building, which can increase the cost of the building in itself.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were looking for, but again, any help we can get is always better than throwing darts at a dartboard and saying that's good.
Yeah. And anytime we get a new perspective or a different view of something, it's always beneficial. So thank you for your comments on that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
So do we need a motion on that, or,
Yeah, whichever
Okay.
route you guys are gonna go.
okay? If no other
I make a
discussion-
motion that we table this item until a further date, until we can take a look at it again with some different wording possibly for that one aspect that was mentioned.
I second it.
Is this a roll call vote, or no?
Not for tabling.
For tabling,
All in favor?
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Okay.
Okay, we will table that. We will move on to item number 3, continuation of a request for site plan approval for Burger Bar located approximately 5291 South, 1900 West.
I apologize, it shouldn't be continuation of, it's just new.
Consider a request. That's what I thought, but
I saw that and went, oops. Cut and paste.
Good evening. My name is Joe Fowler. I'm representing the Burger Bar at 5291 South, 1900 West, down the road. So we are requesting approval for a site plan to add, as you can see on the screen, we're liking to add a second outdoor cooler to increase our space. So it's right next to the one we have currently. Looks pretty much the same. It's a couple feet smaller. Exterior is like a galvanized steel, or almost looks like stainless steel. I'm not sure if it's actually stainless steel, but that's basically it. 8x10 box, and that's it. Any questions? I guess.
any questions?
Is your other one stainless steel as well? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like a stainless looking galvanized.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be pretty much the same. So it'll actually make the building look a little more balanced. I guess you'll have one on each side instead of just
One's
one.
maybe a little weathered than the other, but
Yeah.
still the same
Yeah,
material.
yeah.
Still the same
that's
material.
true. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Will this extra cooler make service any faster?
I sure hope so. That's the goal.
Not if Joe's cooking.
Certainly make it that they don't
Whoa,
run out of
easy,
your
Steve.
favorite burger, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're trying to increase our production. Actually, that's one of the things we need. We don't have space, so we're always trying to trip over stuff and shuffle things around. We're hoping that will increase our, like being able to move things faster and be able to keep things organized.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Steve, any?
So if you
Anything to add?
don't know where Burger Bar is, there's the door. Yeah.
Yes,
The main road
Definitely.
and go, yeah.
Yeah, they're just requesting to add a second outdoor freezer. The great thing is with the change in the ordinance to, I almost said 3 words that we shouldn't be saying, the mixed use ordinance, because prior to that, metal was not an approved or allowed material, but now it is. So, we're good on that aspect. Again, it's not very large. Just the unfortunate part is I wish in the code they gave me these kind of rights to just approve it, but it lies with you guys. So it really comes down to just you guys approving this. It's not big. My only issue is I know when I was there last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, when the delivery truck comes, this will just take the place of where they kind of put things to start shuffling it in. So my only concern is just where will that new place be and how it will interact with the traffic. But, I mean, to me, it's not really a huge item. I can get with Joe and kind of figure that out. And, if we have to look at blocking off a parking stall somewhere just to make it all happen, we can do that. They have plenty of parking. In fact, if they doubled it, they'd probably just have to double the size of their building to get more people. But it's a great asset in Roy, and they've done a lot of work to help make it look better in that corner. Drunk people in cars don't help, but at least the wall was there and it didn't go through the building. So staff would recommend approval of the site plan. Here I have architecture, but it's just a site plan approval. It's not, to me, it's not big enough really to fit an architectural review.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the site plan approval for the addition at Burger Bar
I
at
second
1900
it.
West and 5291 South.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Hey, Joe, just a question. On that back lot where it's always been dirt, are there plans to pave that or anything? Do you aware of?
Well, long-term, the answer is yes. It's always just been, it actually was actually a separate parcel
Right.
until recently. And, we would like to, in sometime in the future, either pave it or add, like something there.
Perfect. I've lost a few shakes on some potholes back there, so that's why I was asking. So,
Been trying to do better at keeping it smoothed out.
but, and we appreciate it. We love your business. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. And we'll move on to number 4, consider request for preliminary subdivision approval for Highgate Cove subdivision located approximately 4840 South, 3500 West. If you would like to come up.
It'd be you, Mike.
Steve told me I would make this presentation, but usually there's a little bit of an introduction. Michael Brodsky, 84 West 4800 South in Murray. Thank you for giving me the time to be here with you tonight. You have seen this plan in a different iteration previously. Your commission approved my request to do a mixture of townhouses and single-family homes on this property. I think it was back in December. Your city council, with input from neighbors, decided that they would like to see something different. And as a result, we've come back with a plan that is now 34 single-family detached homes and no townhouses. We came back to the city council with that concept, and that was approved for a rezone, along with a development agreement. I have a package here that includes what I'm going to show you, but also includes a full copy of the development agreement that has been signed by the city. Would you like this?
Sure.
Sure.
Some light reading there.
If you need to go to sleep.
Give it to Brody if he says it's okay.
Read it, signed it, recorded it.
Give us enough.
I do want to point out that a condition of the rezone was that it was subject to this development agreement, so that while the council approved a rezone for what your city considers to be high density, the 34 lots in this plan, which is subject to the development agreement, provides density of less than 7 to an acre. And this is what has to be built here on this property. Let's go back one screen. And what you saw previously was a row of single-family homes buffering the existing neighborhood and a row of townhouses up against the school This new plan has a nice open space parcel that will be maintained by the homeowners association here, and single-family detached lots that back up to the existing neighborhood, and single-family detached lots that back up to the school. I really don't have very much more to say other than show you this, show you the development agreement that has been fully executed by both me and the city, and stand here and answer rather any questions that you might have.
I think I'm good.
I don't see any questions. We thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Steve, we'll turn it over to you if you have anything to add.
Give me a sec, we'll bring back up the. Okay, so this is a request for preliminary subdivision approval for Highgate Cove subdivision, located at approximately 4840 South, 3500 West, or if you're on Midland, then it's an odd number, but as we all know, it's just south of Bridge Academy, where it used to be 9 full acres of vacant land, and over the last year or so, it's slowly being built on. As he mentioned, the city council did approve for 34 single-family homes detached on separate parcels. As within the staff report, I made mention that not only was I reviewing it against zoning and subdivision code, but also with the development agreement. The great thing is the kind of a concept subdivision plat was recorded along with the development agreement. So conceptually, it is this. Things may change a little bit. We still have to get through UDOT's and all their requirements and stuff, so some things may change. It may be 32 lots, it may be 33 lots, again, just depending on what UDOT comes out, but it won't be more than 34. We did have a meeting with UDOT last week. They gave us some things to look at. We got to sit down with our fire department and our engineer to find out which one of the 3 options they're more comfortable with and would like. But it really shouldn't change more than what you see here. The only change would be is if a cul-de-sac was now introduced, so there'd be no access to 35 and it would just be a long cul-de-sac into it. The concern comes is fire access, all that kind of stuff, so those are things that we have to sit down with the fire department. But as for just, again, a preliminary subdivision, it meets everything that was required in the development agreement. Just so you know, lot sizes are a lot smaller. 6,000 square foot for a single-family home is what it was. Our ordinance requires the development agreement allowed to go to 3,200 square feet, but that's the smallest. They do go much larger than that in other areas. Of course, the lot width is a little different, and the setbacks did change. The side setbacks went from 8 feet to 5 feet, and then front yard from 25 to 20. So not a huge thing, but the homes would still be similar to what you guys saw on the rezone request for the single family. It'd still be 2,000 plus square feet for the homes, 2-car garage. So it'll still be a really nice development, just a little closer than what we're kind of used to. So with that aspect, it meets everything that I needed to review it against.
Any questions for Steve? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion for preliminary subdivision approval for Highgate Cove subdivision located at approximately 4840 South, 3500 West.
A second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion approved. Thank you for coming up. We will move to item number 5, Commissioner's Minutes.
For that code that you were talking about earlier, where you wish you could just approve things without bringing them here, is that something that we can do? Is that a city or is that a state?
Well, it's a city thing. It'd just be a typical, you'd have to amend the code in order to do that. The city council is ultimately the one that has the authority for everything unless they designate it to individuals or to a body. So most of everything has been, other than what they can't, general plan amendments and all that stuff. You guys are the recommending body, but you are the land use authority for most everything else other than single-family homes or duplexes. There's a couple other minor things that I can do. So it would just take a text change for that, but I'm not, to me, I don't know how to what extent, to what size, to what end. So I try to get them as quick as get them through the process as quick as possible. So.
Man, I just didn't know if that's something we could do like in a work session, like we did with the building height, kind of look at the text and see if we could amend it, so we could say if it's non-livable space, like a sign or addition of a freezer or something like that.
Signs you don't, I
Yeah.
review and approve, but
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, for instance, like,
when we can
do that.
look at, we can, definitely talk about it and find out, the portions of the code that talks about who gets what and has what land use authority. Still goes to the city council for approval, so
right. Okay.
that's definitely something we can put on the long list of items to talk about.
Anything else? If not, we'd move to item number 6, staff update.
Well, if you haven't driven around the city, please do so. There's a lot of movement. 4300 West and 5500 South, Holiday Oil is rocking and rolling. And if you blink your eyes, it will be done. They're moving quickly. Abington Heights, which is on Hinckley Drive and 1900 West, there's a lot of change there. They haven't started any construction yet, but they've got a lot of demolition and grading and terracing going on. So there's a lot of movement there. The townhomes on Midland and 4000 are just about complete. I think they're halfway through the last building. So that development will be done. We get a few projects still, going through the civil plan approval type stuff. I did today get an application for a Dollar Tree just west of Kent's. There's some vacant parcel right there, so they're looking to build a new building. So you'll hear that next month to
Isn't it-
review and approve that.
Isn't it $1.25 now?
Well,
It's called Dollar Tree, but they
it's not
increased their
everything for
prices.
$1, so it's they're still okay. So development-wise, that's pretty much what's going on. One thing I do want to announce, just to make you guys aware, so in case things come up, but myself, the city manager, Andy Blackburn, Brody, and even Ryan Cowley, which it's kind of fun that he's not here, but we kind of talked about the aspect, because it's brought up a few times before, of posting the packets online. So, I mean, legally we don't have to, but just to have that on there, we'll probably put something with it, just a caveat, that this is just the review of the ordinance and meeting the requirements, and not necessarily the views of the, that we're all excited for it, but it's just, little things like that. But just to let you know that I will be online. I'll try to get it on for the work session, but at least for the first meeting in May, we'll definitely have that on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of little things, but you never know. It might become a big thing and you get phone calls, or you may not.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, if people see that and then they'll want to call us. We just will have to say, I'm sorry, we can't talk about this until after the meeting type of a
Yeah,
thing?
and I'll sit down, you know, it may just be all the legislative type items where there's public hearings and not necessarily the administrative items. Or we may just throw everything on there. And again, I think that's where the caveat comes in, because administrative items, you really shouldn't be talking to people.
Right.
Legislative, you know, it's still kind of that gray area. Don't go seek it out, but if it comes to you, you know, don't necessarily have to push it away, but that's where that declaration of conflicts comes. You just, you know, say, you know, I had this conversation and this conversation, and then Brody makes this decision if we're out of here. But, you know, just, again, that, we didn't want to blindside you, just have it up there and you get a phone call, so.
Steve?
Other than that,
Back to the townhomes down by Midland.
uh-huh,
That access road that goes behind the McDonald's and the dentist office and auto parts, it's a pretty narrow road. And I've noticed in afternoons, it seems like the employees of some of those units are parking on that street on both sides.
mm-hmm.
And it makes it almost near impossible for two cars to pass each other. Does that, I mean, I know there's road width requirements that allow us to, you know, put no parking on one side or the other. We have someone look at that road. I was almost, hit coming through that road. don't know
Well,
what
I can
you
definitely
at.
look at what was approved and what was required.
Okay.
It is a private road, so we don't really have a whole
Oh.
lot of, but it doesn't mean the fire department can go down there and say, hey, you know, I need
Sure,
access through here, and,
Sure.
you know, so I'll definitely,
maybe have a look at it. It
Reach
just
out to
seems like
Leroy.
a safety hazard. It'd be nice.
Is that one connected all the way through? Because before it was just that parking lot, so no one used it that much, but.
It's the one, if you come up between, McDonald's and Jiffy Lube, and then you go behind and
Right,
connect
behind the
over to
dentist
the
office.
O'Reilly's and Maverick. But it's just
Is it that
it's
one
a
or the
mess
other?
back there.
Connects Midland to 4,000 if you drive all the way through, doesn't it?
You
Oh,
can.
okay, I'm thinking of the one right behind all the dentist offices.
Yeah.
That's,
That's the one.
It does
oh,
connect.
okay.
It does connect from Midland all the way to 4,000. So,
yeah, I'll talk to Leroy, and, because he does have, you know, the ability to
sure,
do things even on private property, because he has to fight fires, and,
absolutely.
you know, if they want him to do it, then they need to do it.
Especially with the height of the townhomes that are going in there.
Yeah, well, in the townhomes, you're not talking about that road, you're
No,
talking.
no, I'm talking about
okay.
the road
I was saying, in the
that's
townhomes, it's
around.
wide enough, and.
Yeah.
So,
but that road, when it's loaded with cars,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Anything else?
I did have one question, Steve.
Okay.
Sorry to delay everybody a little bit. And I know this has probably been brought up once before, but I know we get a lot of residents that have complaints about speeding in their areas. What's our ability or cost-wise for being able to put up maybe in certain areas if you get enough residents requesting, like the sign that flashes or has the radar on it, you know what I mean? What's the... I know we don't usually get involved with transportation, but
No.
I've had a few people ask me about
As a
it.
citizen, you can contact either the administration or the police department and ask for that. Quite frankly, after there's sufficient requests, the police department does send patrols out, and the radar, things like that. This body, no offense, you don't have anything to do with it.
No, we don't.
But as citizens, we would take a look at that. And the police do respond to that. They can't be everywhere, and, everybody thinks everybody is speeding. So, and that's also something you could say is the police department has shifted back to more normal procedures lately. So you're going to see a lot more traffic tickets and those type of things happening now. There was a time where they were more or less just responding to major issues in COVID and all that kind of stuff, but now they're back to more of a proactive approach to things, so that might help as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I know that's one of the number one complaints the city gets from people, it seems to be, is because it's not just your street, everybody's street has people speeding on it. It seems to be everywhere, so it's just,
I've seen people bring it up at city council, so that's probably, you could direct them that way.
before I've just directed them to the mayor's corner or whatnot, but I just wanted to maybe have a better answer for them.
And we actually do get quite a bit. The mayor will talk to us about, hey, we're getting complaints, you know, I've got X number from this location, and the police department does
Respond to
Yeah,
those.
does do that. I mean, again, they can't be everywhere, and there's only so many. I think we have 2 or 3 of those, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the info.
Anything else? If not, we'd look for a motion for item number 7 to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Have a second, motion and a second. We stand adjourned.
Nope.
Oh, excuse
Can I
me.
vote?
I did that last time, too.
How dare you?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
That's always the most enthusiastic I would get, isn't it?
No.
I want to do it.
Helps to have a bailiff that sits foot forward when you're.
You wanted to blame me?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the gavel, maybe it was.
Luckily, that's one of